Hey buddy, welcome to your final set of essay corrections. Andrew here again. So let's have a look at your task 1 first. I have recommended before that we use the overall statement here in order to build up the details slowly, but I'm not going to say that it's wrong. It can be structured both ways, but I prefer to have the overall statement after the definition. So the bar graph depicts the number of trips Cool. We don't need to use clearly here. Runs. I've never used this word here before, but it is correct. It does work. Well done. We don't need to talk about, this is a judgment. Whether it did exceptionally well is really an opinion. We must always talk about the frequency or the number. What's that? Hollaby levelled off to the same position at the end of September. Okay, that does make sense. Informal writing, however, should really only be used at the start of a sentence. Cool. Overall, this was a good comparison. One thing is that we need to make sure that we always refer to the number of trips. The volume of trips as well is probably not quite correct. I'd prefer to use the frequency of trips, the number of trips, the number of rounds, rounds. If a newspaper boy is delivering his papers, he's on his rounds. If a milkman is delivering his milk, he's on his rounds. If trucks are collecting waste, they are on their rounds. It's about going around the regular route. Anything that involves a regular route can be referred to as a round. So this question about green energy and energy security is a tricky one. Some people don't quite get what energy security means, but let's have a see. Getting or becoming? Others have pointed out prepositional and phrasal verbs should be avoided in IELTS. It's better to use a single verb to refer to it. So, to point out, how about have indicated? I wouldn't use latent here. I appreciate the use of the word, but I don't think it's necessary. And a risk to energy security would be the best option, or a risk for energy security could be acceptable. Renewable power sources, they're quite beneficial. Oops. Cannot fully satisfy the individual. We're not talking about a particular country, and we need to be possessive here. So this is clearly an opinion. Remember, this is a discuss both views. Don't use third world and first world. This is a really outdated way. We could say from both developed and developing countries. It's not about having an impact on global warming, and actually they have quite a high impact on global warming in that they reduce it. So what could we say? Let's just say, and are more environmentally friendly. Cool. So we've made the case that clean energy is cheaper, more effective, and etc. That's not a bad paragraph at all. Good. Take, for instance, the fact that Sweden failed to completely change its electricity generation to hydropower. And coal power is concurrently being used to ensure enough power is generated. The same can be said for Kenya, which is in the same predicament. The problem with this paragraph is just that it says green energy cannot produce enough power, but it doesn't explain why. The reason being that renewables such as wind, hydro and such all depend on intermittent meteorological phenomena. So essentially they change. The sun is not always there. The wind is not always there. The tide goes out, and so wave machines don't always work as effectively as they could. All renewable energy depends on cyclical phenomena. And so during some periods, they will necessarily not be producing anything at all. Even more, with wind turbines, there's a requirement to use power to start the turbine, as in the wind itself is not enough to start the turbine. The turbine is far too heavy for the wind to move. But once it's been gotten up to a high speed, the wind is capable of maintaining its momentum. So wind turbines can only be started when there is a guarantee, almost, not a guarantee, but when we're sure that there will be enough wind to make it cost effective, because we have to spend energy to start the turbine. And so if then we want to continue using the turbine without it costing us money, there has to be a sufficient amount of wind. So this is the problem for renewables, that you have to use a wide variety of renewables in a strategic manner in order to be able to actually supply your country with power. So the energy security section of this essay was a little bit underdeveloped. But otherwise, these responses are really good. I don't actually see you having a problem scoring a band 7. I think you're going to be quite good at this. But just remember the basic rules. 3 things in the introduction, 4 sentences per paragraph, 2 things in the conclusion. Make sure your sentences include enough detail, that they reason well, as in you provide all of the explanation behind your point, and you should do just fine. Obviously as well, make sure that you answer the correct question. So I'll send this over to you now. I look forward to your exam results. I think you're going to do quite well. But if you do need any other help before you sit the exam, do drop us an email. Have a great day, buddy. I'll speak to you again soon, I'm sure.